Okay. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Well, welcome all of you to the continuing celebrations of this most wonderful day. And we really appreciate the fact that you've all taken the time to be here to make it all the more special. We've got family and friends here from near, far and wide. It's an international event. We've got people here from the Isle of Man. And also even further afield from Italy. Kate's Nana is here. Ciao, Nana! Ciao! The service was absolutely superb. Everyone looked brilliant, didn't they? The bridesmaids looked lovely, Evie looked lovely, bride and groom, everything about it. Stan, what a marvellous job he did. The music was wonderful. The unexpected song was so unexpected. So yeah, it's just been perfect. When two people commit themselves to marriage, in truth, it's done whether the respective families like it or not. But I know I speak for Jim and Margaret and for Caroline when I say that we like it. We definitely like it. We love it. We're so delighted that they've decided to go on this journey together. Why? Well, quite simply because they're clearly meant for each other. We thought that the first time we saw them together, there was just a sense of it being right, of it being inevitable. And that first meeting was a bit surreal because it was in November on a Sunday afternoon in the town centre. Caroline was dressed as an elf. I had some similarly elfish attire on. Now Kate's used to this. In fact, Kate was dressed as an elf as well. But it occurred to us that Stu might not be. So, but it was marvellous. Didn't say anything, hasn't mentioned it since. So you passed that first meeting test with flying colours. Well done. When Stu proposed to Kate on Christmas Day evening, more of that in a little while, it set in motion very many trains of planning and of preparation. And one of those was for me to discover what was involved in the father of the bride role, and I threw myself into it with great enthusiasm, and I found out two things. The first thing was, and I'm going to quote here, I was serving as the warm-up act for the main speeches of the day. Nothing like being put in your place. And the other was, and again I quote, to make sure that the bride arrives at the church on time. You may well laugh. Actually, that wasn't our fault, was it? No. So many of us here will be familiar with Kate's unique relationship with the concept of time. She's locked in a perpetual battle against the relentless sweep of the minute hand and the second hand. However, just as we, in our enlightened age, don't just look at the disease, but also at the causes of the disease, I have to tell you, it's not actually Kate's fault. She doesn't have a chance, really. Because on the one hand, admittedly, you had Kate's granny, my mum, who's, if she arrived for something half an hour early, thought she was pushing it a bit, making it a bit fine. But all that cannot add up to the other side. There's Caroline, whose idea of catching a train is for her to set foot on the carriage, the doors to whoosh shut and the tray to pull off. And you know those announcements you hear in airports when they say, well, such and such a person, please make their way to gate 22 because the plane is about to depart. Thanks to Caroline, I've experienced that. Kate's uncle, Gavin, is credited with the immortal line, uttered just as he, Tracy, his wife, and I think Nana and Neil were leaving the house to go somewhere. I'll just have a quick bath. So, faced with that evidence, give us some slack from that. But you don't get off scot-free, Kate. She's made her own contribution to the catalogue of classic time-crunching tales, most notably when, on the night before she was due to fly out to work in Hong Kong, and I think Gail, you know this, she was with Gail, they went to a wedding, and she assured us they wouldn't be late. The airport taxi was booked to pick us up at 5:30 a.m. Make a note of these times because they'll come in handy as the story unfolds. Caroline was at the big youth theatre festival, camping in a field with 20 of our youth theatre members, so I was alone. It was my job to make sure she got on that flight, and midnight passed. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, no Kate. Started to get that unmistakable sense of panic. 3 o'clock, 3:30. My hand was now hovering over the phone, ready to phone the police. 4 o'clock, 4:30. 5 o'clock. Still no sign. And at 5:15, the front door opened, and in she strolled, staggering slightly, went upstairs to the bathroom, then rummaged in a room for a passport. The airport taxi arrived, all was calm. Relief left me incapable of any kind of reaction. We got in the taxi and set off, and I looked behind me, and Kate was sitting in the back seat, head back, fast asleep. All these fumes of alcohol were coming out. And it was one of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen. Today, it's presented me with one of the most memorable moments of my life, walking Kate down the aisle. An utterly joyful experience. I know I couldn't stop smiling. I couldn't help myself. She looked so beautiful and so happy, and Caroline and I are so overwhelmingly proud of her and all she continues to achieve. And it's been a constant joy to see her grow into the confident, intelligent, caring, it's quite a list, thoughtful, compassionate and sensitive human being that she is. But in truth, many of these attributes she had as a child. For example, at Christmas there was a tradition of the joke Christmas stocking, filled with silly things and vegetables and so on, and as a precursor to the actual presents. For many children it would be a case of, oh great, a carrot, okay, can I have a real present? But not for Kate. Oh, a potato. Thank you. It's just what I've always wanted. And she still has that potato to this very day. Don't let me down. I mentioned earlier about Stu's Christmas Day proposal. The timing of it took everyone by surprise, including, I think, Kate.
Yeah.
Well, not quite everyone, because Kate and Stu had stayed over on Christmas Eve so that we could spend the morning together exchanging presents and so on. And it was lovely to have them there with us all. At around midday, after all the unwrapping, I took several bags of torn paper into the kitchen, and I was very quickly followed by Stu. And just the two of us in there, and he requested permission to ask Kate to marry him. And I was just so moved. It was, well, I know now that it's a typically Stuart gesture. And we were kind of tearful, weren't we? And they said, no, let's get manly again, we've got to go. Because we had to go back into the living room as though nothing had happened, so we didn't give the game away. And so, and I didn't even tell Caroline, which is a first. In the evening, it was just brilliant. I kept seeing Stuart pacing from the kitchen to the living room, we kind of back and forth, picking just the right moment to pop the question. As Jim, Margaret, Evie, Caroline, Nana, Neil and Andrew unknowingly looked on. And that was a wonderful moment for us all to share, wasn't it? And to remember. Well, I think my warm-up act is about done. I must, however, pay tribute to the many people who contributed to making this day, as I've said, so perfect. Thank you for everything all of you have done. And I have to give special thanks to Nicola, who not only read so well, but has done so many things behind the scenes. She's organised, she's created, she's supported. Thank you, MVP, as I said. Most valuable day. I must also bring to your attention all that Caroline, Kate's mum, has done. I think it's fair to say that not a day has gone by since Christmas when she hasn't been researching, ordering, suggesting, cajoling, making, accompanying, pondering, enabling. It's been quite magnificent. In fact, I think you and Nicola should go into business. I really do. I think you know. As I said at the beginning of this speech, so many aspects of Kate and Stu's journey to this place have felt almost preordained. Kate and Stu, you are undoubtedly a most wonderful couple, and you'll write the most wonderful life story together. And along the way, you'll be surrounded by the love that truly, truly you both deserve. So please, everyone, would you raise your glasses for a toast to Kate and Stu, the bride and groom.